Weekly News Report with Ali Naimal Talk Show. Today we have three hot topics we're going to bring up to you, and one is about South Sudan disposure of the Vice President of South Sudan. And secondly, we're going to move on to what is going on in Ethiopia right now, as Ethiopia is moving into a full throttle civil war. And lastly but not least, what is going on in Taliban after the takeover, and what is the aftermath and the things that you should know that is happening that you do not hear or see much. You probably heard a lot about it on other news networks, but have not been able to see anything of what is going on in Afghanistan. So starting off with South Sudan, as you guys remember, South Sudan was one of the hot topics for civil war back in 2013 with the ethnic genocide that took place. And as South Sudan gained their own independence from 2011, owning Salva Kiir as the president of the country and Riek Machar as the vice president of the country. On some of the reports that we have, South Sudan Vice President Riek Machar has been removed as the head of his party and his armed force as well, which he was a rival leaders in his party, and this happened on August 4th, 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. Now, Riek Machar, who played a major role as the vice president, second to his partner, President Salva Kiir, their goal was to lead a peace towards the country, and which has never been fully met or established by the leaders. In 2018, in forming a unity government, which was one of their main goals as well of South Sudan, and bringing South Sudan into a modern democracy country for development and growth. But unfortunately, the goal was never met, but forced by the years of civil war that broke out in 2013, killing thousands of ethnic groups in South Sudan. And ever since the war broke out, there has been a lot of dispute within the political party and divisions going on in the political party as well. So Riek Machar was no longer the beneficial to the party and was disposed, followed by a 3-day gathering in the countries for north of senior leaders from the Sudan's People's Liberation Movement in opposition, SPLM-IO, said the party's military wing and the SPLM-AIO. So this was announced last week, so he is no longer the vice president of the country. Who will take over the position, we don't know, and there is still a lot of dispute going on between the parties, and also who would be a perfect fit lead for the majority leading group, which is very unfortunate. So more developing stories for you guys in the next coming weeks. Now moving on to what is going on in Ethiopia. So as you guys probably been following up with some of the updates, Ethiopia is at a full-blown civil war. And it's just the beginning, and things are only getting worse at this point before it can get better. Now, last couple of weeks ago, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, called on every citizen who is capable to join the military forces, the Ethiopian military forces. Now, there has been another force that decided to join the civil war alongside with TPLF, which is the Oromo People Liberation Forces. Now, those two forces have united against the Ethiopian Prime Minister, which is the Ethiopian military. And this could potentially lead the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, to a failure of his regime. Now, how those two came together or decided to work together against the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, it is still developed and it is still unsure or unclear. Whether it will affect the regime of Abiy Ahmed to continue to rule in Ethiopia, it is also still unknown and still developing. Now, if you guys remember, back in 2020, November, this is when the conflict started. And some of these issues have been driven in from different directions. And some of the most questions a lot of people have been asking is, how did the Ethiopian conflict become a main issue leading to civil war at this point? Could it be because of the history of the TPLF and how they were marked as a terrorist group? Or could it be the Oromo movement on fighting over lands as Addis Ababa was expanded? Or could it be the election where Abiy Ahmed was to be put in place as a temporary prime minister of Ethiopia until the real election take place, where people can decide who will run the country? Now, with all the three forces, they have clashed in once to fight over the power and also the disputes of land. The TPLF army force have grown stronger, a lot stronger, pushing out through Amara as far as to Afar region and also getting close enough to Addis Ababa. With the Oromo forces joining in with the TPLF, they're still developing story on what is going on currently in the Oromo region, but a lot of fear from the citizens who do not want this war to take place at all, do fear that this war could lead on to other regions as well. And as many of you know, the Ethiopian history is a very complicated history due to a lot of different ethnic conflicts and disagreement on who runs the power of Ethiopia as well. So more developing story for you guys in the next coming weeks as more news continue to be exposed. Now going on to the main topic that is taking on this place is the Taliban takeover. Now in Afghanistan, it is run by the Taliban as a full government of the country. And in the last week, as you guys remembered, our President Joe Biden announced the departure of the American troops to be departure out of Afghanistan, that this would be the end of the war with Afghanistan. And he came on to announce to the nation that this is something that needed to happen, and they have been planning to do that for a long time. And whether it happens sooner or it happened now, it really wouldn't make any difference. But pulling out the soldiers out of Afghanistan, which is leading to a deadly crisis currently in Afghanistan. And it is also in his command to think that the Afghanistan people or the military were ready and would be able to take over the ruler of their country. Now, by surprise, as soon as the soldiers were taken out of the country, immediately, unexpectedly, which nobody thought of would happen, is when the Taliban took over, taking over the embassy as the president of Afghanistan, Ashraf, who fled to United Emirates for his safety as well. Now, going further into a little bit more details, the dispute argument by the major platform, it is not about what is done, but it is about how it is done. There are some arguments saying that they could have got the citizens out, people who work for the American embassies, and also allies of the USA, including journalists, anybody who worked in Afghanistan, could have been taken out first out of Afghanistan, and leaving the soldiers to be the last resort to be taken out of Afghanistan. And however way it happened is the soldiers were all taken out. Anybody who had a United States passport that could make it to Kabul airport at the time would be able to departure into the plane. And the way it happened, it left a lot of people there in Afghanistan, over 1,000 American citizens and also Afghanis allies who have been working with the United States or any other Western world as well. They have no way of getting out. They are trapped in the country. And the fear for that is what is going to happen to them, because the Taliban are against anyone who either have worked with the United States or the Western world. Now, furthermore to what is currently going on, not only did they depart Afghanistan, they also left their military gears there as well, which can contribute to more power to the Taliban on having more weapons to use against their own citizen, or taking their full enforcement of law. And these are some of the weapons, like the big tanks, the guns, and things like that, that the military has been used over there for 20 years while they are in Afghanistan. Now going on to some of the fear for the citizens of Afghanistan. What is the future of the woman? And this has been one of the rising questions a lot, and a lot of concern on the women in Afghanistan. Some of them who have spoken out saying that being a woman is a taboo, and it is also a dangerous thing in Afghanistan due to some of the laws that are enforced within the country. Now, with the Taliban claiming that the women's rights will remain and that nothing will change, and told everybody, go back to your regular work. Nothing will change. There is nothing to fear. And along with that report, the people of Afghanistan knew very well what they are capable of and what the enforcement and how harsh it will become. But the rest of the world, including here in the U.S., we don't have a deep understanding of what the Taliban are capable of, even though we may know from 20 years ago, but they have become more powerful as they taken over Afghanistan. Now, with some of the rights that are still granted to the women in Afghanistan, as long as they are working with the Afghanistan government, including things like nursing or teachers, social working, those will still remain the same. Any women who work as an interpreter or work in any other unnecessary things that goes against the law of the Taliban, they will be put into prosecution. Now, continuing on, as the fear continues to grow in Afghanistan, the full Sharia law is to be enforced. And that is one rule that has never changed with the Taliban, is the strict Islamic law that everyone should follow. With the Sharia law, there are certain guidelines for the women and also for the citizens as well. And a woman cannot be in any political party or leading or anything relating to the country as well. And also things like sports, stuff that we enjoy here in the Western world as a woman, or the freedom of a woman. And now it has been few days after the Taliban take over. And what you don't see is horrific. And there has been harsh punishment taking place as well. They already have started lining up people for prosecution. Over 300 people have been prosecuted so far by the Taliban. And this includes women as well, being whipped, and also going door to door for anybody who had an American visa or that have worked with the American allies, which is a very dark time and very horrific for the Afghani citizens at the moment. So may our heart and our prayer goes out to the Afghanistani people. A lot of unexpected things could develop in the next few days, hours. That's how fast the things are moving. And, things that you may have heard, and with, people undermining it or saying, it's not going to be as bad as it was 20 years ago. And the rule of the Taliban is still the same. It remains the same. So, and a lot of those graphic images, you will not see them on any media because they have been blocked, even if you try to post them. But you'll be able to hear some of the reports from major reporters and also other people with larger platforms as well. And as people continue to speak out on what is going on to the country. Now, with the president who fled the country, Ashraf Ghani, who is now currently in the EAU, this has shook a lot of people and kind of wondering, why did the president decide to flee the country? He spoke out on a Facebook live stream last week, stating his reasons of why he had to flee the country. He reported that his security secretary, have advised him to leave the country, and that he should no longer be in Afghanistan because if he was there, that there would be more bloodshed in the country. And He also claimed that he did not take any belongings with him as well, and all of that can be checked by the custom of the country, and also leaving all of his belongings behind, and also the money as well, and not taking anything with him. Now, whether it is truth or lie, we don't know for sure, but it could definitely be a self-defense for the president as well, to why he decided to flee the country. And this could be a really huge eye-opening to the rest of the world. So if you guys saw the takeover, people running under the planes, doing whatever they can to cling onto the plane as it take off. 3 people were reported dead during that episode. And also people trying to get inside the airport as much as they can for the safety. Children's being put over the fence to be given to the U.S. Air Force that are still there right now, so that at least they can go somewhere to have a better life as well. And also the main president of the country fleeing the country. Now that's how you know things are only going to get pretty bad. And you may not see it, but the testimonies will shine a light to what is happening in the country. Currently with our president here in the United States, what their plan is, we don't know, because they're currently on vacation. People are wondering where they are, and what is their plan for the citizens, the innocent lives that will face all of these horror as well. So as more news develop in the next coming weeks, we will update you on what is going on as well. What will the United States do differently, or how will this affect the United States and the rest of the world? And my heart goes out, some of the women who cried out, one lady who cried out and said, this is going to destroy the world in a lot of different places, because it's opening the door for a lot of the terrorist group to take on territories, and also to be given the opportunity to run a country like Afghanistan. Have a wonderful weekend.
Hot mix mixing.
Du nouveau à Minneapolis, Tempo Afrique Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.